So moving to now our next panel, Nourishing Indigenous Communities, the intersection of food justice and nutrition for youth. You can go ahead and make your way up. It's moderated by, remember I was saying, who's Jackie B? Okay, she really wrote Jackie B. Okay, so Jackie Blackbird, our sister here, Indigenous Communities Officer of Newman's Own Foundation, okay, from Westport, Connecticut, with Newman's own grantee partners who will introduce the partners, and I'll give it to you, sister.
Thank you. We did. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the Indigenous youth that were just up here today. Powerful, very powerful words. And as adults, it's great, to hear their stories and that they're at the age where they can share their vulnerabilities. And, one of the panelists had talked about adults sharing their stories so that the young people can learn from them. So that is great that we're speaking here today, because the individuals I have with me today all work with Indigenous youth as it relates to food justice. So my name is Jackie Blackbird. I grew up on the Fort Belknap Indian Reservation in Montana. I'm a member of the A'ani and Nakota tribes. I am the Indigenous Communities Officer at Newman's Own Foundation, and we are super excited to be supportive of this conference this year. Mindy has been amazing, and we are just happy to be here. I'm also joined up here by grantee partners. So Newman's Own Foundation, one of our strategic priorities is to serve Indigenous communities as it relates to food justice for kids. And I'm very excited that these grantees have agreed to share their stories today, because they all have great ones to tell. And so can I have the next slide, please? So our mission at Newman's Own Foundation is to nourish and transform the lives of children who face adversity. And I think most of us from tribal communities and those of us that work for tribal communities truly understand the adversity that our young people face, because some of us have those lived stories, that we share with the younger generations, and we are those role models and we are those examples for those future generations. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the grantee partners introducing themselves, telling us a little bit about their work, and a rapid fire question I'd like them to answer is, why youth? Why work with youth? And I will let Jessica take it away.
Ngapo, Natadawins, Jessica Stewart, and Chickahominy. Hello, my name is Jessica. I am Chickahominy. I'm from the Chickahominy Indian tribe in Virginia, and I'm so honored to be here today. And why youth? I want to speak directly to the group that was up here prior to us. I don't know if they've exited the space, but Trinity, this is for you, because you matter. You are worthy, and it is up to us as cultural practitioners to pour into you all youth as the vessels that you are, to hopefully spark your own Indigenous joy. That you are the generation to enact change. You are the generation to literally plant the seeds. Thank you.
Aloha, yeah, can I just have her answer? My name is Josh, aloha mai kākou. I'm from Kaua'i. I also would just like to address the last group. They're gone, but they're the best. Yeah, why youth? It's really, and this is for if there's any funders in the room, funders don't fund makua. We fund keiki and we fund kupuna. But how do we raise solid young individuals like you saw up here? And how do we take care of our kupuna if we don't support the parents? And so we like to fund the youth and work with the youth because they are the next set of parents. So right now we're dealing from a deficit at our makua age, right? Because we get this age, we're supposed to know everything and be everything culturally, but we're still learning. So by giving them the head start that we didn't have a lot of times, we're ensuring that they're going to be further ahead. So they're the best we've ever had of all of our cultures. And that's all of our jobs. So that's why youth.
Keshi kotan lagiti kanawa. Ho juyaisa lifdita lechina. Hom ano diwe mula bichi kwet down doa gawan chatle. Hello everyone. My Zuni name is Juyaisa Lutita. I want to give a little context. It doesn't have any meaning per se, but I am named after my great-great-grandfather who had lived a long beautiful life, and so I inherited his name in the hopes that I also inherit long, bountiful life. My clans are Parrot on my mother's side and Corn on my father's side, and I work with the Zuni Youth Enrichment Project based in Zuni, Pueblo, New Mexico. So, thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Robyn David. Yat she'e Robyn David Yanishia. Lizlana Nishne. Kis ani bushes chin. I am, once again, sorry, Robyn David. I am of the Diné in Navajo Nation, and I am Many Goats Clan, and I am born for the Hopi. And why youth? Because they are our future. It's that simple. And they are the ones that are going to carry on our language, our family, and our hearts, and the love for our food and our nations, everyone's reservations, nations, and just the love for the people. And being Indigenous food brings heart to the table.
Well, thank you for that, and thanks so much for sharing. We'll start off with Robyn. So you work at Star School, and you have an established garden program. So what would you say are some of the unique features about the programs and the harvests that you include the youth with?
So Star School is actually a small charter school that's located between Flagstaff, Arizona, and the Navajo Nation, the reservation line. We are actually not on the reservation. We are about 5 miles off the reservation. We are considered a green school, which is a solar school. We are completely run on solar power, and we actually have our own school well. And we have about 99% Indigenous students in our school. And we have the one child that is not Indigenous. We actually have a farm on our school where we grow our foods. We have about 3 cornfields and 1 large hoop house. And some of the foods that we grow in our hoop house and in our fields, we actually use some of it in our school meals. And we have our kids plant the food, harvest the food, prep the food, but the staff at the school puts their two cents in, and we cook the food for the community.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Robyn. We'll move on to Brittny. So tell us about the Zuni tribal members' involvement in the programs that serve youth in this food justice space, and what are some strategies that you have come up with to get the youth to be more involved as it relates to your work?
Thank you, Jackie. I totally forgot to mention my English name. My name is Brittny Seowtewa. I am so nervous up here. But I will combine those to talk about more of the strategies and how we involve our community in that way. So the first strategy, biggest one, is as a youth organization, we do serve over 1,200 youth in our food sovereignty programs that we do on a yearly basis. And so one of those key components to having such a successful program is involving the community's voice in everything that we do. And with the youth being our main focus, the number one strategy is to make all materials, make all knowledge toolkits youth-oriented, make them the primary focus of any initiative that we do. Then that's one of the biggest strategies that we have to highlight. And one of those big components is to involve the culture, involve the language. And we do so in the way that we have a committee, an agriculture committee, and it consists of 8 tribal members who are traditional farmers who also hold, in one way or another, a role in the religious sector. That way we have the culturally informed information, and ZYEP as an organization, we act as the middle person. So we inherit all this knowledge, and the Agriculture Committee, they teach us very complex histories in our relationship with food and how our food systems were disrupted over colonization, and more importantly, how we can reclaim and revitalize those food systems in a very well culturally informed way. And so we act as the middle person, and we put our ZYEP strength-based spin on that. And I just want to give a shout out to my team, my food sovereignty team who's here, Zachary James and Cassia Hattie. They are the boots on the ground, as you would say. They are the ones directly in front of the youth. And they have a way of being inspiring to the youth and making these complex epistemologies and turning them into very simplified programs and activities that the youth can not only understand, but also develop that intrinsic motivation to continue the good work and fighting the good fight, so that in the future, hopefully we'll have more control of our food systems. Another strategy that I'd like to highlight is partnerships. So partnerships within the community is very important in Zuni. We are not part of our tribal entity. We are a nonprofit, and so we kind of act as like the cool aunts or cool uncles who can do all the fun activities because we're a nonprofit. We have a little bit more flexibility that way. But partnerships are key in our organization. We partner with the tribal entities. That way we help each other, because we all, at the end of the day, serve the same people. We are all trying to grow our youth, our communities, so that, like I mentioned, they'll fill the spaces that we now hold, and they'll continue fighting the good fight. And I have my notes right here, sorry. I'm not texting. Another thing is also being adaptable and being responsive, hearing what the community wants from us, and pre-post surveys, and actually developing that trust with the community by following through and hearing their feedback and modifying things as they come. And lastly, meeting the youth where they are at. So our organization, we are in the schools. We have an MOU with our school district, and that has been vital and key, because it is hard working with the youth and working with communities, getting people involved and getting them to come to our spaces. But we gave them no choice, and we are in the school whether they like it or not, whether we're cool or not. We are there teaching them, the food sovereignty ways of life within Zuni.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittny, for that. Josh, tell us some about the native Hawaiian food systems, within your island and the community, and how the youth are involved in your work.
Yeah, so traditional relationship with Aina would have been through an ahupua'a, which has three really distinct sectors. And so the top one is uka, and we in our organization Iwikua, we associate our whole organization around this understanding of relationship to Aina. So we look at our bodies as similar to that ahupua'a system. So from the top of the mountain, up before that wawakua, that spiritual space, we have this piko, which connects us to our kupuna, right? This is when you're a baby, this is your soft spot. And so this is where we put our nutritional program. So our farm that we have a farm at a high school. We're helping decentralize agriculture by meeting people where they're at and getting food out there, and that's definitely through our youth program in Newman Zone, working at our Hawaiian language school, Kaua'i, and helping them build their own food farm where they can have their lunches come from. And so that being our tether to the past, because our nutrition is where we get what we can eat, right? That's where we get from our kupuna. As we move down to this piko, this connects us to our now, right? Our parents. This is our tether to this generation right now. And that's where we have our gym program, which we have a lot of kids in our gym program. We have a school 3.0 program, or if you can maintain a 3.0, it's for free. You can come check in there anytime. But as we work with the kula, is what we call that realm, as we work with kula, that's our physical fitness, because this is the world we live in today. And then as we reach this piko, which we're all adults, that's the piko that connects us to our future. That's our children, right? As we're able to procreate if we choose, that's how we ensure that we keep on going on. And so for us, that's our educational sector. And no one of these uka, kula, kai, none of them can be healthy without the other one thriving as well. You couldn't have a kula situation where the other two are really desolate. So our bodies have to be healthy that way, and our community has to work that way. So through our programs, we work through the food system, the physical wellness, and then the education and the cultural. And that's really where we find where we work with youth. We take kids, they work through this ahupua'a understanding. Any of our programs, it's about finding their passion. We help them create their own research project, and then they create college-ready posters. And we go to Montana State University last year, and they presented in a symposium similar to this, smaller, but similar. And they go up on stage, and they have to stand and present their research. And they can choose to speak, Makala Olelo Hawaii Valeno. They can only speak Hawaiian if they feel comfortable that way, or they can speak however they want, but they have to stand on the research. And this year, we're taking a similar group down to Aotearoa, and they're going to do 3 presentations at universities and 3 Mahi'ai presentations in community. So that's one way that we can ensure that as our water flows out from the top of the mountain into the ocean, it always comes back. Yeah? And so we're equipping them through this way to go out, to come to things like you just saw these young Kanaka over here. Amazing. This is going to change their life forever. And our hopes, and I cannot speak for their kumu, but I can assume, like us, that their hopes is that they come home. Yeah, go out, get strong, learn from each other, learn from all of you folks in your communities, because not all of the knowledge is held in one school. Yeah, we got to learn from everybody else around us. Some of you folks are doing things different, and we can really learn from that. Maybe we can inspire you in the ways that we're doing stuff, but these youth really hold the key, and we want them to come home then and really take their spot as the next ones. And so that's really how we use our Hawaiian food system, the ahupua'a, to try and motivate and learn with our youth.
Thank you, Josh. That's great. And Jessica, at Chickahominy, you have a summer culture camp, but I know you have other programming. What would you say has been the biggest successes in connecting the youth to culture, to elders, and to food sovereignty? And if you want to share a little bit about your program.
Sure. I think I do fail to mention with my introduction that I work in program management and compliance, specifically youth development and education, and I come by way of education as a classroom teacher for 10 years. So stepping out of the classroom and coming back home to work with the tribe has been a blessing to me. I feel like it's been a blessing to the community that I'm able to heal my teacher heart outside of the public school system, but within our hub of people. So we're very grateful to the Newman Zone Foundation. We are in our 3rd year of funding from Newman Zone. Again, very grateful for that. We've had several successes with our summer culture camp. Specifically this summer, our enrollment was up 38% from last year, and so there is definitely a need within our community to have youth, we serve ages 5 through 13, to come for a 6-week experience. We have a location that we rent a church for that space as we are continuing to gain designated properties for us to kind of expand. And so what we have done is raise garden beds. And this year we had six garden beds with vegetables, zucchini, squash, tomatoes, peppers, red and green peppers. And we partnered with our tribal community garden for the corn because there was an abundance there. And so what we have come to understand is how our language revitalization program is completely connected to the summer culture camp. And so that language connects us to the land and how we have our youth literally planting the seeds of creating this food system for our people. It's such a blessing. We have also partnered with our tribal members who hunt and fish to kind of bring it all together. We are preparing our young youth for the deer and turkey season that's coming up with archery. So we have helped these youth become certified to go out into our tribal property to hunt for this wild game, and how do we bring that back and harvest that with one another. We partner with our local fishermen to go out onto our Chickahominy River to fish in canoes, and we learn more about the shad and the herring that we like to catch, and also we learn more about the indigenous fish, the Atlantic sturgeon this summer, and how that is very important to our waterways. And so we have just given these youth a lot of opportunities that they otherwise would not have had. And so we just thank Newman Zone for that. And one thing that I have learned this summer as I've taken on the role as a cultural practitioner is how I've learned from these youth. And so it wasn't that long ago where I was a youth coming to these classes that we had, but now we have it as a summer program, and these peers who are otherwise disconnected from our tribal community because of competing interests like with sports and vacations, and we have kind of moved away from our central hub. We're able to come together for 6 weeks, and it's a beautiful community, and it's something that I personally want to invest in with these youth, hopefully for next summer, and how we can expand on that. And it only takes one generation to enact change, and we are creating that food system right now. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. One more question I'd pose to the panel before we move to take some questions from the audience. Brittny, would you want to share how ZYEP has addressed kind of the challenges with the current political, social, and economic climate? Because I know that you had shared a bit when we've had past conversations about how that's impacting your programming and what you all do.
Yes. Yeah, that's a loaded question. So I'll do my best to answer as an organization, but we have definitely felt, the ripple effects from higher up. And as a youth organization in food sovereignty work, as mentors, as peers, those changes have, they're more felt. And it has been a very challenging time for our organization, and being that we are a nonprofit that is about 90% grant funded, it is scary. It is a very scary realization. And one of the most important things that we do as an organization is provide free service materials to all our kids. We are sitting at about 50% of our youth are below the poverty line, and so it is important that we give the materials free of charge. That way they have access to some of these materials that they may not otherwise have access to. And so the political climate has been definitely challenging. And as far as economic, social challenges, Zuni is located in the desert southwest, so if you've ever been there, it is very dry, it is very hot. And Zuni, we do not at the moment have any food systems in place. We don't have any farms, we don't have any large-scale food production. That being because of certain policies and especially access to water and access to land. Those two are the biggest challenges that we are facing as a community in a food desert. And it has been very hard navigating those and doing food sovereignty work. It's hard to have, achieve food sovereignty without water, without land. And what we have been doing as an organization, as a strength-based organization, is, changing the narrative, making ourselves dependent on ourselves. Not relying heavily on government, not relying heavily on any assistance outside. And so as a youth organization, we teach the kids, we give them the tools, the knowledge, the access to grow their own food. And so we're doing microscopic work, but eventually these kids, they will, as I mentioned, develop the intrinsic motivation to further the work. And who knows, maybe some of them will become lawyers who fight for our water rights, who fight for the land usage. And so although we are a very small nonprofit, hopefully, and we are certain that our work will funnel up and hopefully change a lot of the systems that were put in place to bring us down. But we are here, the youth are the future, and yeah, we're just gonna do what our ancestors do and survive and push and be resilient and make our dreams come true, make our ancestors' dreams come true.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Josh, did you have some thoughts on what you're seeing in your area? And then just, I know that you come to the US to do some work as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. It is a trying time for everybody. I think when I think about this question, I come from a lineage of activists a bit. And I would quote Uncle Walter. One time I had a great conversation. If you don't know about him, look him up in Kaua'i in the 70s. And it's kind of where we're at right now is direct action. And one thing he told me when I was young, he said, you can't wait for the next Kamehameha to come along and conquer you. So for all the peeps in Oahu, I know you mean nothing by that. Being from an outer island, Kaua'i, where we were never conquered by Kamehameha or any other, what he was really saying, being a Molokai activist himself, was don't wait for someone to come along and have all the answers for you. Yeah? Eat what you have. Be sustained by the things that are in front of you. And so one thing that we've come to understand is, and I hope any of you who have organizations, is don't be afraid of white guilt money. You know, like don't be afraid of that space in philanthropy because they need you more than you need them. Because if you're doing the project and it's what you folks need in your community, then do the project. And finances cannot be the thing that keep you from doing what you're supposed to do, especially when it comes to your kuleana, especially when it comes to the youth and malama'aina and taking care of your food system. It cannot be a dollar sign. And so for us, because we're the most isolated place in the world, we're the furthest away from any major land source, everything has to come there for the most part. We have a really unique view into this time because, you know, it's one boat from coming and you don't know anything, yeah? And so we really have to be able to mobilize right now. And so I have a little bit of that punchy edge because we see that. And it's very real for us in Hawaii. So things that folks on the continent will see, you know, we've been living in the illegally occupied Kingdom of Hawaii for our whole lives. And we've been ready for this moment. So for us, speaking not only for myself, but the ones we work with, hey, right on, bring it on. Because we truly believe we're the best ones we've ever created. And we have to believe that. All of our kupuna, all of your ancestors went through all that rubbish. So you're here right now. And you gotta level up. And so if it's the orange pumpkin making calls about your funding or whatever it is, get going. Do your job. Do your job because your kupuna put you here. And you're the best there's ever been. So let's get to work. And so that's kind of, Jackie, where we're at. And it's not easy. It's easy for me to say that because I'm on a stage and we're in Minnesota and it's a nice place. But where the rubber hits the road, that's kind of the attitude that we want to portray for all of us. And not just for myself and Iwikua and our little thing, but all of us. And when we really realize that we all together, then I think we can really start to move, yeah? And we can make that happen. So, yeah, mahalo for the question.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again to you all for deciding to come up here. I know sometimes, you know, it could be a lot to come in front of a crowd. So really appreciate you joining the panel today. So I'm going to go ahead and move to some questions from the audience. The first one we have is, sometimes it is difficult to get youth to make that first step to participate because of outside influences, and maybe even from fear. How do you make those initial connections and engage youth to come and then maybe to participate? If any of you want to take that question.
I would say, so we are a K-8 school. We used to have preschool, but we ran out of funding for preschool. But I think it starts off at a young age. A lot of the kids that go to Star School have been repeated children. So we start them off as young. We have small fields in front of our preschool building, and the little ones can plant their own corn, their own, you know, just watch it grow, they water it, they tend to it. And then as the grades go older, so our buildings start off from little kids to older kids, kind of like how the sun rises, right? And it goes up and it goes this way. So our 8th graders in middle school are on this side of the school. So we start off like how a plant grows. The sun starts off and goes this way. So our little ones start a plant process, and then as the kids get older, they go to the fields, they go to the hoop houses, and they water and they tend to everything else. But the way I think is also, some of our kids have grown up having fields. Some of our kids have learned some of the things before they've come to Star School. We just keep it going. We just keep influencing them to keep going. And I have to say, it also comes down to, which I'm very happy for Star School, is that our alumni kids also come back and work for the school. Like our farmer, she is actually here today. Jasmine, can you stand up, please? She is one of our alumni, and she's actually our farmer. So she grows, she tends to the field, she does it all, and we communicate, and we say we need corn, we need tomatoes, we need squash, we need this, we need so that's what I tell her working in the kitchen, because I am the food service manager also. And it's very interesting, and we also, the next step we did also was we have our own farm. We actually raised our own sheep for our harvest festival, which we feed the entire community around us, so the kids can also come back and bring their families and eat what we make for the community. And not only do our kids come back, but our alumni kids also come back for the harvest festival to eat what we make. So I think it starts off as young as 3 years old, because we used to start off at 3 years old and go all the way to middle school. So I think it starts off as a little one. And it's like, I would say, when Grandma says, come watch, or hold the leg, or do stuff like that, it was always a thrill to be able just to hold the legs of the sheep while Grandma's cutting or Mom's cutting. And my grandma used to always say, there's really no wrong way on how to butcher a sheep, just as long as you're observing and watching how it's done.
Well, thank you, Robyn. That's so inspiring, especially having alumni in the crowd, and that they were able to attend this conference. I think that's great. And so, Jessica, how about you all? I mean, it sounds like you've had growth, right,
Yes.
from the first initial camp until where we're at today. How did you get more youth involved?
I think it goes back to building those relationships. And so what I really wanted to integrate this year with the camp is making it intergenerational and inviting our elders into our space. One thing that we were able to do is to bring in some of the recipes of our elders, and we had elders to come in and cook with the kids this year, which was amazing. So zucchini, that's very prevalent in our area. A lot of the youth like to turn their nose up to that, but we had an elder come and make zucchini muffins with the kids, and it was really beautiful to see her there with her granddaughter baking together and then sharing with the kids and then giving them an opportunity to experience this vegetable in a different way. And then we also had a canning workshop where we had an elder come in, and we were pickling cucumbers. It was amazing. But again, building those relationships and letting these youth know that you are enough where you are right now, whether you grew up in a circle like a peer over here, or whether you're just coming in to the circle for the first time. You are enough, and we are here to continue to build those relationships with you, and that we are putting those mentors in place. Another thing that we have going on with camp is our camp counselors are our older youth, so 18, 19, 20, 21. And so we have those youth that are coming in and mentoring these kids, and we're also helping them with their life skills as they are building a strong work ethic and how they can continue to give back to our community. So always goes back to relationships with this.
Thank you for that. Brittny, we'll have you start us off on the next question. What have you heard from the youth you work with, and what's been the most meaningful for them?
Yeah, I think the pattern has been said, building relationships, building connections. And from the youth, we're very similar to Jessica's program in the sense that we have a summer camp that we see 120 kids per summer, and they're mentored by teenagers, ages 16 on to 24. And so what we are seeing is that turnaround. The kids who experience summer camp, they are now coming in to fill the spaces of the camp counselors and giving these kids the same experiences that they enjoyed so much growing up. And the meaningful part of it is that we've seen this past summer camp, after reviewing our surveys, is that language immersion has been the most important, meaningful concept of summer camp, involving Zuni language in our dances and our activities every day activities. And I will kind of mention that Zuni language is a language isolate, so meaning that no one else in the world speaks this language. And it is so important for us to continue to teach our youth how to speak our mother tongue. And so far, that's been the most meaningful aspect of our programming.
Josh, do you want to share some about the youth you work with?
Yeah, well, from what I heard from the youth that was up here today, it makes me really think about a couple concepts, and this echoes to the kids we work with as well, and it's this fear base, and I would put it to, they're talking about identity, they're talking about acceptance, they're talking about empowerment, and they're really asking for guidance. I heard that multiple times, which is awesome. And the thing is that these are all adult problems. I don't know if any of you have keiki. None of my kids are afraid to go play with another kid. The fear comes from adults. So us not being part with our own things, we pass that down to them. And so when we work with these kids, the most meaningful thing is to create a space where they can come in and feel comfortable. We've worked with kids who've never olied in their whole life, and now they're in front of 1,000 people at a powwow, and they have to do opening ceremony. So we prep them for it, but we do it in a way that you're not ostracized because maybe you don't hit this E correctly, or you don't hit that thing correctly. Give it. Do it the best you can, and we're super stoked. And I think that that's really, with the youth we work with, understanding that a lot of that fear isn't coming innately from them. They weren't born with that fear to be themselves. That's coming from adults in our systems that we've created to separate ourselves. And so as adults, as programmers, creating safe spaces where they can come in and they don't know anything, and that's totally fine. And we can help create just that spark. And you so fast, all of you know how fast kids learn and how slow adults learn. Yeah? So if we just give like a big boulder on a hill, you give it a little nudge, that bug can roll, right? And it's just creating the right situation and us being solid as adults in our own selves and our own things that we're dealing with, to not pass that on to them and let them roll and go. And really from the kids that we work with, the language, everything that these wahine have said they work with, we kakao it at 1,000%. Having mentors come through, the language being super important, starting when you're really, really young, and just having that space where they can be, because really for our perception is it's really not about you, it's about aina, right? And the language is to the aina, right? The land deserves the language. You as a person, you gonna die. But the land feeds off our energy that we can give it. And so whoever comes into that space, wherever they're at, it's our job to empower them to do their job for this land. Because the land gonna be there way longer than us, yeah? And so I think that's really what I hear, and that's what I heard from these awesome Kanaka that I'm super proud of. So yeah, mahalo.
Awesome, thank you, Josh. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to share space with you during this beautiful gathering. Thank you to the planning committee. Thank you to Mindy for all your support and allowing us to be part of this Native American Nutrition Conference journey. That's all we have time for today, but if you have any further questions, they'll be around for a bit, and we hope you all have safe travels home. Thank you.